Appreciate you. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Hartford School Building Committee meeting, January 21st, 2025. Call this meeting to order at 12:11 p.m. First order of business, agenda number 1 is the roll call. Mr. Tony Little.
Mr. Paul Drummy. Good afternoon, Mr. Paul Drummy.
Present.
Ms. Sherry Davis-Goose.
Present.
Mr. Al Gary.
Present.
Mr. Edison Silva.
Present.
Ms. Shantae Rowdy.
Present.
And Ms. Jennifer Hockenhole.
Present.
Okay, with 5 voting members present, we have a quorum. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Little. Appreciate you. All right, item number 2 on the agenda, everyone, is acceptance of the minutes from the December 16th, 2024 meeting. May I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Board Chair Hockenhall. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Gary? Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, we'll move on to roll call. Board Chair Hockenhall.
Approved.
Chief Davis-Goose.
Yes.
Ms. Browdy.
Yes.
Mr. Silva.
Abstain.
Abstention. And Mr. Gary.
Yes.
Okay, with 4 yeses and 1 abstention, the motion carries. Item number 3 on the agenda is public participation. This is where I read a little note. Public participation will be supported through the duration of this meeting by using the comments function on either YouTube, Facebook, or by emailing comments directly to myself at paul.drummy@harvard.gov prior to or during the meeting. At this time, I ask Mr. McCauley, is there any online questions? Thank you, Mr. McCauley. Item number 4 on the agenda, everyone, is administrative. So I would like to make a general comment here. Point of order, am I allowed?
Yes, you are.
Okay, thank you. So I just want to, reach out or speak with the CMs and the architects that are part of these projects. I think moving forward, if indeed there's not an action item or you're not requested to be present, we would ask that you go online for public participation and not be in the room, again, unless you are needed for a specific presentation, etc. Okay. Any questions on that from the committee?
I have a question.
Please.
So, when we were in person, people were afforded the right to speak, like in person. Would there be any consideration for them to possibly be allowed in the room just for their asking questions verbally, and then maybe exited during the public participation allotted time?
A great question. I'd have to defer to Mr. McCauley. Mr. McCauley, if there is an online question, can we let them in? How does it work digitally?
There's no way to let them in from where I am. They'd have to join in via Zoom. It has been brought to my attention that unless you have an account that you can sign into on YouTube, you can watch, but you cannot comment. So you need to have an account with either YouTube or an account with Facebook in order to participate in your online questioning by submitting them. Or, of course, they can submit via email to you. But the live real time, there's no way to bring them into the meeting unless they have the Zoom link in advance.
May I further ask of that, Mr. Chair?
Yes, Mr. Gary, please.
Concerning your recent comment, Mr. McCauley, could we then, if someone contacts us and say, would you send me the link? Can we send the link to them in real time so then they could join that way?
Technically, yes. As to who sends them that link, I don't know, but that would be they would need the link to be able to join.
Right. So I think either if anyone with the link on their computer could forward it to them just via email, and they would then be able to join. That could happen very quickly.
Right, and I guess a follow-up question to all of this is it possible to put public participation to the end of the agenda to give more time from a technical perspective to get them teed up for said participation?
Paul, if I may interrupt,
Please,
I
Emily.
think in other entities, they
Mhm.
do list the Zoom link as part of the actual agenda. You're able to join, and with Zoom, you have to function as once the public participation is done, you can let them out. They don't have to stay. You can.
Okay. And Emily, thank you. So am I hearing that we should continue having the Zoom link broadcast publicly, and then we can allow them in when the time comes?
If you have any public participation,
Right.
I mean, and then it goes back to your comment. Now you can move the public participation down to your last item, if that's what you would like to do, to get through all your action items and your reports, and then do the public participation. The order of the agenda would depend on the vote of the chair and its members.
Right.
But at that point, you can allow them in, for public participation to be the last. There is a waiting room. You could let them in once it's ready for public participation to happen.
Right. Perhaps Emily in group team, we have an agenda item kind of stating such, right? This is the time in the meeting where we reach out to the audience to let them know to know if you're going to be part of the last agenda item. I do think we need to do something different, Ms. Browdy. And I think
I have a suggestion on
Please.
that.
Please.
Because at the end of the agenda, if the public wants to speak on an agenda item, I think at the end, I don't think that will be a good spot. I think where you have it is a perfect spot.
Okay.
But they would just be in the waiting room until we get to it, because you can't say a time because you don't know the discussion. So they would be in the waiting room. If they're there during that session, that's when they are let in for that particular reason.
Okay.
But I think at the end would not serve the purpose for someone who wants to speak to an agenda item.
Fair enough. That makes sense too. Thank you. So all this said, and I guess Emily, who polices the link, right? You're the one who lets people in at any given time.
Either myself or Kelly, yes.
Right. This would have to be knowing who's not part of the committee or an owner's representative.
Correct.
We would keep them in the waiting room until public participation.
Right. Yeah, and like Ms. Browdy just mentioned, if there's nobody in the waiting area up till we get through public participation, then we just continue on.
And maybe, yeah, I think it sounds like we keep it the same, almost the same, and at this time we look to the waiting room to see if anybody would like to join for public participation, versus saying, well, I'll do the same to Mr. McCauley. He'll go on YouTube and Facebook, see if anybody's there, which is most likely not, and then we'll dovetail off of that to say, is there anybody in the waiting room that would like to participate publicly? Does that sound like a plan that everybody would be agreeable to? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Browdy. I think we have a good plan, unless anybody objects. So we'll not only ask Stan for anybody online, but we'll also ask Emily if there's anybody in the waiting room that would like to participate in the public comment section.
Yes. Kelly or myself will be monitoring that. More than likely Kelly. She's the one that lets people in and out.
All right. Any other questions, comments? All right, everyone. Hearing none, we'll move on to the next agenda item, which is agenda item number 5, current projects under construction, Arcadis ONG CNR program management. 5A1 is Buckley High School renovation projects. And at this time, I hand it over to Mr. Burkus.
Thank you. First item before us, welcome. And since this is the first time we've been together in the new year, Happy New Year, kind of belated, but here we are. First item before us today is change order number 29 to Newfield Construction for the Buckley High School project. The items have a net credit value of $65,465. These have been reviewed and approved by the change order subcommittee, and we ask your endorsement.
Jack, is there a motion to approve or bring forward? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Gary, is there a second?
Second.
Board Chair Hockenhall, any discussion? Hearing none, and make sure there's no hands up. Seeing no hands, no discussion. We'll move on to roll call. Board Chair Hockenhall,
Yes.
Chief Davis Googe,
Yes.
Ms. Browdy,
Yes.
Mr. Silva,
Yes.
and Mr. Gary.
Yes.
Okay, with 5 yeses, motion carries. Jack?
Next, we have a purchase order increase request to AJ Gallagher for our builder's risk insurance policy for the Buckley project. This is presented in 2 parts. We have the increase for central administration worth $37,000. And the second component is an increase of $152,554.56 that will be charged against.
If I may interrupt, it's actually 231,112. You're reading the wrong line.
Thank you. That was the available budget. The $231,112. The difference between what was remaining in our builder's risk budget and that bottom line is $78,557.44, which will be drawn from the owner's contingency. This has been reviewed and approved by the bid review committee, and we ask your endorsement.
All right. Okay, so is there a motion? We'll start there.
So moved.
Mr. Gary, for a
Yes.
second. Board Chair Hockenhall. All right, discussion. I'll start. Did we combine 2 agenda items here?
Yes, since it's related to a single insurance policy, but funded in 2 parts. We have this item and a companion, which is item 2C under action items.
Yes.
Which are linked.
All right, very good. Just to be clear, this is action item 1B and 2C we're approving here, both for AJ Gallagher.
Correct.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll move on to roll call. Is there Board Chair Hockenhall?
Yes.
Chief Davis Googe,
Yes.
Ms. Browdy,
Yes.
Mr. Silva,
Yes.
okay, and Mr. Gary.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. With 5 yeses, motion carries. Next item.
Next item before us is change order 29 revised for Newfield Construction for the central admin portion of the Buckley work. This is to correct a final value that was previously approved but incorrect. The approved value should be revised to $30,782. And we ask your
Thank you,
endorsement.
Jack, is there a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Gary, second.
Second.
Chief Davis Googe, any discussion? Hearing none, move on to roll call. Board Chair Hockenhall,
Yes.
Chief Davis Googe.
Just quick
Yes.
correction, Executive Davis Gooch.
Ooh. Executive Davis Googe. I like that.
Thank you. And yes.
Okay. Ms. Browdy,
Yes.
All right, Mr. Silva
Yes.
and Mr. Gary.
Yes.
All right, with 5 yeses, motion carries. Okay, next.
Next before us is change order number 30 to Newfield for the central admin portion of the Buckley campus work. This is a change in the net value of $2,714. There is a CM contingency charge of $9,869, which does not affect the bottom line of the GMP. This has been reviewed and approved by the change order committee, and we ask your endorsement.
Thank you, Jack, you got a voice for radio. Is there a motion?
Got a face for radio too.
Motion to approve.
All right, Board Chair Huckenhall, is there a second?
Yes.
Second,
Second.
Mr. Gary, any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move on to roll call. Board Chair Huckenhall.
Yes.
Executive Davis Gooch.
Yes.
Ms. Browdy.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Silva
Yes.
and Mr. Gary.
Yes.
All right, with 5 yeses, motion carries.
Next item we have is change order number 30 to PDS Engineering and Construction for the Burns project. The net value here is $63,609. This has been reviewed and approved by the change order subcommittee, and we ask your endorsement.
Thank you, Jack. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Okay, Mr. Gary, is there a second?
Second.
Board Chair Huckenhall, thank you. Any discussion? Hearing
Yes.
none.
Can I get a little background on it? Sorry.
Yes, no worries, please. Jack?
On which portion, Ms. Browdy?
The whole thing.
We
The
have
whole thing. Yeah.
we have six items here. PCO 184. There was an area of the building that was subject to work in phase 1, which now that we're going back to do the final portions of the renovation in phase 2, it was discovered that not as a deficiency in phase 1, but just as an existing condition in phase 2, that there was some electrical circuitry that needed to be rewired. The PCO 186 was to bring the electrical bonding of certain building systems in conformance with the code. That was not, it was a field condition. It was not illustrated in the documents. PCO 187, in the construction of some new site drainage, there was a portion of a foundation from a previous structure that was on site, which had to be removed. PCO 188, the mechanical penthouse on the roof, we intended to leave as is as far as the exterior skin, just as we've left the building brick in place. During work in the penthouse, it was discovered that the stucco system had continued to fail from the time that the design had commenced, which now requires some remedial work. This is work that was covered in the recent budget expansion, so this was part of our expectations list. PCO 189, there was a piece of plumbing connected with the storm system. The storm and sewer are combined in the street, and we needed to put this, restore this element that had deteriorated, called a house trap. And PCO 190, there was a piece of kitchen equipment that was I believe manufacturers were changed, and the item requires a separate backflow preventer. I believe that captures all of the elements.
Good memory, Jack.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll move on to roll call. Board Chair Huckenhall.
Yes.
Thank you. Executive Davis Gooch.
Yes.
Ms. Browdy.
Yes.
Mr. Silva.
Yes.
And Mr. Gary.
Yes.
All right, with 5 yeses, motion carries. Burns Latino check. Another
Yes,
one?
the last action item for current projects in construction is to secure third-party review of the playscape design. This is something that is being required by the state plan reviewers. We have used Versteeg Associates as a reviewer on other projects as well, and they are available to do this work in the time required. So we are asking to affirm the bid review committee's approval of this $2,000 procurement of third-party code review services.
Thank you, Jack. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Board Chair Hockenhall, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Geary, any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move on to roll call. Board Chair Hockenhall.
Yes.
Executive Davis Gooch.
Yes.
Ms. Browdy.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Silva
Yes.
and Mr. Geary.
Yes.
All right, with 5 yeses, motion carries. Next item on the agenda, everyone, is 5B, which is project reports. Jack, please.
Thank you. You want to go to full screen, Emily or Kelly?
Apologies, Jack. That is full screen. For some reason, it's
Okay.
yeah. Sorry. There you go. For some reason, it's
All right, in our summary of EEO status for Buckley through phase 7, we are exceeding expectations both on minority and women employment as well as Hartford residency employment. For Burns, we are consistently exceeding minority and women employment, and we are still in a similar range of the 25% range against our 30% goal regarding Hartford residents, but again with the small staff and limited scope of each phase, that has been a project reality on Burns. Next slide, please. As we look at our budget overview for Buckley campus, we have encumbered all but roughly $9 million worth of the Buckley High budget and about $840,000 remaining unencumbered in central admin. Those numbers reflect largely owner's contingency, furniture, and technology. And we've received reimbursements from the state on a regular basis on both of these projects. And you can see we've paid against our $201 million encumbrance on Buckley. We've paid out almost 118 and just over 23 million paid out against the 34 million encumbered at central admin.
Jack, if I may.
Yes, please.
This is a new line, which I love. We're reviewing this packet on Friday, and I think it's really nice to see what we've received back from the state as these projects move forward. And I'll ask, that the Collier's project leaders does the same on their projects, so the building committee can see what's paid to date and what's been reimbursed from the state. Thank you, Jack.
Very good. For Buckley, we're about 63% with construction at the high school portion, about 65% for the central admin portions of the work. You can see from illustrations, we've got the building exterior is nearly wrapping up. We're substantially along the way of updating the building skin, heavily into interior walls and finishes. You can see the list of tasks proceeding. All of the school proper switchgear is scheduled for receipt by mid-February, and the electrical gear for the commissary is currently stored on site. The repair of the existing auditorium roof deck is depending on some additional work. We found some structural deficiencies above the existing ceiling, and we're dealing with those, and part of that is delaying the installation of the new roof at the auditorium, but otherwise the project is proceeding on schedule. For Burns, we've encumbered all but 9.3 million of the project. Some of those dollars that reside currently in owner's contingency are intended for scope increases that were part of the budget increase. So we haven't spent those out yet. And then furniture and technology, part of that as well as the playscape that goes along with the recent approval of Versteeg to do code review on the playscapes. and we've received 35 million against our 40 million paid to date on Burns as well. Moving to project progress. We've completed the second floor of C Wing, and the move in to those spaces was accomplished over the holiday break. We're proceeding on with additional Area 4 kitchen and cafeteria work, and Area 6 is now under construction. And we are working in all these areas towards a fall 2025 turnover and project completion. You can see some images of finishes going in place, the new windows installed in the cafeteria in the lower left. So we're really seeing the project take on the appearance of its final configuration. So we're encouraged by that. Looking at the 3-month look ahead, you can see the nature of the work at Buckley is more of the same. We will be, as I say, working on the auditorium roof. That'll be targeted for March to replace the deteriorated roof deck and then make the final installation. We are moving along in all areas and shaping up quite nicely as far as progress there. Moving on to Burns. As I said, additional work in Area C, the kitchen and cafeteria are the primary areas of focus at this time. Are there any questions on Burns or Buckley?
Hey, thank you, Jack.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. Next item on the agenda, item number 6 is current projects under design, Collier's project leaders, which should probably read under design/construction. Item 6A, action items, 6A1, Betances Elementary School. Ms. Judy Denny, please.
Good afternoon, everyone, and Happy New Year. So the first item on our agenda is for Betances Learning Lab. This is for change order number 3. This change order includes PCOs 7, 9, and 11, which includes installation of a water meter pit, MDC fees, as well as the flooring for the temporary pre-K. And this change order is in a total of $8,518.40. And our recommendation, and these change orders was reviewed and approved by the change order committee. And our recommendation is for the Hartford School Building Committee to affirm the change orders committee's approval of the listed change order and to authorize the chairman of the Hartford School Building Committee to execute change order number 3 to Downs Construction an amount of $8,518.40. Furthermore, the Hartford School Building Committee to authorize the Director of Finance to adjust the purchase order to Downs Construction as shown above.
Thank you, Judy. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Gary? Is there a second?
Second.
Executive Davis Googe, got the second in time. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move on to roll call. Board Chair Hockenhall?
Yes.
Executive Davis Googe?
Yes.
Ms. Brady?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
And Mr. Gary?
Yes.
All right, 5 yeses, motion carries. Judy Cannelli?
So next item is Kennelly. And for this one, this is for the GMP for phase 2. As you can see, there's a list of bid packages as well as the recommended award. This bid packages were reviewed with the selection committee for the MWBE and bid selection, as well as the change order committee. And if you scroll down, and this GMP is most of the items were reviewed and scoped out. We do have a few remaining packages that are currently being scoped, and there's, I believe, 1 or 2 that have to be rebid. So to date, we are on budget, and this GMP is for $48,876,303.64. And our recommendation is for the Hartford School Building Committee to affirm the change order committee's approval of the listed phase 2 GMP 2, and authorize the chairman of the Hartford School Building Committee to execute the Phase 2 GMP to Downs Construction in the amount of $48,876,303.64. And furthermore, the Hartford School Building Committee will authorize the Director of Finance to adjust the purchase order to Downs Construction as shown above.
Thank you, Judy. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Gary,
Yes.
is there a second?
Second.
Board Chair Hockenhall, thank you. Any discussion?
Yes.
Oh, please, Mr.
If I
Gary.
may. Thank you, Mr. Chair. On occasion, I have often been approached by various MBEs on the regularity of the set-asides, and I invite them and I advise them that we committee members don't see this. We're not in the sausage making, and what they should do, and I'm saying this openly to all that are in the audience, technically and in this room with us, to advise interested queries to make their questions known in this meeting or prior to this meeting, but they should contacting me or any other committee member does not I cannot serve, I cannot be of assistance there. It's not in front of us, so they have to come here and announce their concerns. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gary. So I was going to say something, and what I was going to say is I'm excited. We're here at a point to where we are positioned to really start moving forward on Kennelly. It's taken a lot of time and effort, but phase 1 is moving along. But this is the major phase to really start transforming this school into the space that the kids deserve and the staff. Mr. Gary, dovetailing off of him, so we, the city, we have several committees to review the packages before they go out to bid. So the MWBE committee meets as a group before the CM and the owner's project managers go out and hit the streets with the packages. So they show us the amount of effort they go through to reach out that they do for all the minority businesses in the area, the Hartford contractors, all of that, and it's really a tremendous effort. I do have to applaud Downs in this particular case for all the effort that they put into to foster the people and support them in any way we can, because we're open for business and we want them here doing business with the city of Hartford. So we don't take this lightly. I think the city does a lot more than most, and I'm quite proud of it. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to roll call. Board Chair Hockenhall.
Yes.
Executive Davis Googe.
Yes.
Ms. Browdy.
Yes.
Mr. Silva.
Yes.
And Mr. Gary.
Yes.
All right, with 5 yeses, motion carries. Ms. Denny.
My next item is for E.B. Kennelly, and this is for change order number 5. And this change order includes PCO number 10 and 14, which is also for the water meter pit and MDC fees. And it totals $6,417.40. These change orders have been reviewed and approved by the change order committee as well. And our recommendation is for the Hartford School Building Committee to affirm and approve the change orders committee's approval and authorize the chairman of the Hartford School Building Committee to execute change order number 5 to Downs Construction in the amount of $6,417.40. And furthermore, the Hartford School Building Committee to authorize the Director of Finance to adjust the purchase order to Downs Construction as shown above.
Thank you, Judy. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Al, I'm going to give that to Board Chair Hockenhall.
Second.
She was lit up first, and I'll give you the second. Is that fair?
That's fair.
All right. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move on to roll call. Board Chair Hockenhall.
Yes.
Executive Davis Gooch,
Yes.
Ms. Browdy,
Yes.
Mr. Silva,
Yes.
and Mr. Gary.
Yes.
All right, with 5 yeses, motion carries. And I believe that's it for action items. Item number 6B on the agenda, everyone, is project reports from Collier's project leaders. Judy?
So our budget for Betances is 66.8 million. Contracted to date is 19.3 million. Paid to date is 3.8 million. We're currently in the process of scope reviews for Betances. And for construction, we have installed the temporary classrooms and completed. We have also completed the interior moves for the media center as well as the pre-K3 classroom. And spoils have been removed off-site. And the action item has been completed for change order number 3. Next slide. So for the Hartford participation, we're at 25.10%. So non-compliance letters have been sent to all the contractors who are not meeting the minimum goal to encourage them to provide the Hartford residency goals and meet that goal. And the women and minority participation is at 50.76%, and we're exceeding in that area. For Betances, we have received most of the bids, and to date, we're at 26% for city participation and 6% for project labor agreement, and we're exceeding in both those areas. Next slide. So for Betances, we're for the month of January, we're having the install of the temporary classrooms. They will have their final inspections as well as the installation of finishes, as well as IT network equipment. As well, for the end of this month, we'll be having the completion of the temporary bathrooms that was developed on the ground level. In the month of February, our goal is to have the phase 2 letters of recommendations to be presented to the MWBE/bid selection committee as well as the change order committee. And our goal is to have the approval for phase 2 GMP for next month. And after, for the month of March, we are seeking contracting for phase 2. So in the picture you'll see to the right is the temporary media center / library that's currently in the auditorium at Betances. And then to the lower right, you will see the temporary classrooms that have been installed to date. Any questions for Betances? All right, next slide. For Kennelly, budgeted to date is our 88.13 million. Contracted is 16 million. Paid to date is 3.7 million. Like I said, there are a few packages that are currently being scoped, so those are ongoing. And then underground utilities and installation of piers are in progress. Next slide. So for Kennelly, we have a shortfall at 22.10% for Hartford residency. As I mentioned, for Betances, letters have been sent out to the contractors who are not meeting the minimum Hartford residency goal. And for women and minority participation, we're at 40.14%. So we're exceeding that area. And then based on the bids that came in, we're at 27% for Hartford participation, 9% for project labor agreement participation. Next slide. So after this meeting, the CM will be working on contracting for phase 2. And we also, like I said, we're progressing on the installation of the underground utilities. In the month of February, our goal is to have the site work break ground for the addition, as well as the installation of the temporary classrooms. And in the month of March, we're progressing with the temporary classrooms, as well as installing the finishes and IT network equipment. And we'll be also delivering the packing materials for the classrooms that will be occupying the temporary classroom in the month of April. And then you can see in the picture, there was a tap that was done for the sprinkler line which is the picture to the top right, and then to the lower right is work that's being done on site to prepare for the temporary classes to be installed. Any questions for Kennelly? All right, next item is for Wish. So our budget is 67.3 million. Contracted to date is 12.8 million. Paid to date is 5.9 million. So we have received the construction documents from the design team, and we are in the process of conducting design reviews. The CDs or construction documents have been provided to the estimators to start their estimation of the documents, and providing us with a cost estimation is scheduled for next week. For the construction portion of the project, utilities have been terminated and abatement has been completed. Next slide. So for Hartford residency, we're currently at 29%. Non-compliance letters have been sent out to those contractors who are not meeting the minimum requirement on goal for Hartford residency. We're currently at 94% for minorities and women. So we're exceeding in that area. Next slide. So for January, like I said, we received the CD drawings. We'll be reviewing those drawings as well as the specifications with the authorities having jurisdiction for the city of Hartford. We'll have the estimated reconciliation for next week. Design reviews are ongoing, and we'll start the construction documents presentation that will be with the Hartford Public Schools and some of the city of Hartford staff. And then in the month of February, we'll start. The middle of February will be the demolition will start for Wish, and then we'll have the CD presentation to the advisory committee, the Board of Education, as well as the Hartford School Building Committee for next month. And our goal is to be able to proceed to OGA to receive a PCR. So that is scheduled for the end of next month for February. And the completion for demolition for Wish will take place in March, as well as we're anticipating the acceptance of the bid documents from OGA. In the picture, you can see to the right, pretty much the shell of Wish. Some site work that was being done for taking out the tank, and as well as the lower right picture, you'll see some equipment that have been delivered for the demolition of a building. Any questions on Wish? All right, and that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy. Appreciate you. All right, everyone. Item number 7 on the agenda is current projects and startup. Arcadis, ONG, and Nutmeg. 7A, project reports. Mr. Buckus.
Thank you. Glad to report that we have moved McDonough and Parkville into full schematic design. We have developed and shared options for Moylan with the city and with Hartford Public Schools, and are awaiting some design confirmation from them in order to nail down which of the approaches will be acceptable. So we hope to have update on that for the next meeting. But we are active in SDs on both Parkville and McDonough at this time.
Any questions on Moylan, McDonough, and Parkville? All right. Thank you, Jack. Item number 8 on the agenda, everybody, is future projects and development, Batchelder, Sanchez, and Sand. We extended the submission for owners representation to the end of the month. So we should be reporting back to this committee next month with the results of the submissions. Any questions on these 3? Hearing none. Item number 9 on the agenda, project closeout. Weaver High School. We continue to work on that internally. I am updating the committee privately with regard to the fire alarm system. We do have and I've mentioned this in prior meetings, which I probably will start getting on the agenda, is Weaver High School photovoltaic on rooftop arrays that we need to start moving forward on. So what that looks like, I'll frame it out for the committee next time we meet. Any questions on project closeout / new projects, which I just mentioned? Hearing none. Next on the agenda is other business. I have none. Hearing none, which leads us to our last agenda item, which is adjournment. Item number 11. Is there a motion?
Motion. So moved.
Board Chair Hockenhall. Who seconded? I apologize.
Executive Gooch. Yep.
Okay. Any discussion? Hearing none. We'll move on to roll call. Board Chair Hockenhall.
Yes.
Executive Davis Gooch.
Yes.
Ms. Browdy. Mr. Silva.
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
Gary. Thank you, Mr. Silva. Mr. Gary.
Yes.
I'm not sure if Ms. Browdy's still on, but that's okay. With 4 yeses, motion carries, everyone. Thank you for your time. I appreciate you all, and have a good day. Bye now.